All right, welcome to the attendance deep dive. My name is Adam Miller. I'm on the customer services team. If you were present in the session at the conference, this is a re-recording. We did have some technical difficulties. So unfortunately, the session, the live session itself was unable to be recorded. I will take you through the session today in a re-record. So today we're going to look at attendance-related data elements. We're going to cover some common scenarios, talk about some errors, and we're going to show you where to look in the portal as well as WiseDash to help with your attendance. So what is attendance? Attendance comes down to contact between a student and a teacher during which district supervised educational services are provided. Each district may have slightly different attendance policies. Wisconsin is very localized control. So as far districts and schools set their own attendance policies. However, regardless of local policy, actual days of attendance and possible days of attendance must both be recorded. So attendance uses, it's an important measurement of student engagement. It's an indicator of student success. It's used in both school and district report cards. It's also federal reporting. It's reported in WiseDash districts for public, as well as civil rights. So this information is used in a lot of different reports. So let's take a look at some tools here. We're going to look at WiseDash and WiseData Exports. So currently, WiseDash is not available for choice schools. So some of that information, because it's so important, is put into the into WiseData Exports for you to be able to pull. So we're going to start with WiseDash here. So this is where you're going to go. This is kind of the roadmap here on where to go to find this in WiseDash. So you're going to click on Dashboards, Topics, and Attendance Dropouts. This information is going to be more for internal use. So this is good for reviewing and comparing prior year data. Trends, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Helps you determine strategies. And you can compare it to the statewide. So you can compare yourself to, how well you're doing against the rest of the state. All right, the next place to look is also under dashboards. However, this will be under snapshots, and then you'll select attendance. So this is going to be more of the external facing data. So this is the data that's public reported. It's also available in WiseDash Public, and this is what is used for report cards. So a couple of things here. These are the data quality indicators in the in WiseDash. So you're going to have 3 of them down here. The first one is 0 scheduled value. The second one is scheduled 0 attendance, or with 0 attendance. And the last one is scheduled with 100% attendance. So the different scenarios here that you would see these is 0 scheduled value. So this is going to be students with no attendance reported in WiseData. So if you see this, students with WiseData enrollments must have attendance. So why is it missing? And that is going to be the first one here. The second one will be schools with 0 attendance. So schools with no attendance reported in WiseData. Why is there no attendance being reported? This could be maybe the school's not in use this year. So if that's the case, a lot of times that'll generate a warning. So in that event, you would just acknowledge the warning. The third one, schools with 100% attendance. So why is there 100% attendance? So take a look and see. You can click on these buttons and it will bring that up. So a lot of times when you have a school with 100% attendance, generally that's going to be a virtual school. So um, students with no attendance reported, again, that's going to be the first one. You can click on that and see the student. That could be a student that maybe didn't show up. Maybe they're a no-show. We will talk about no-shows and what to do with those. But it's possible that it's a no-show. A lot of times, if you have a no-show, um, definitely investigate it. So if you see one of these students with zero scheduled attendance, so they have no attendance showing up, take a look. It's possible, again, they're a no-show and maybe they are attending another school. And a lot of times this will cause an overlapping enrollment. So everyone's dealt with overlapping enrollments. They're not fun, and we'll talk about them a little bit more um, later. So Wise Dash Public. So if you are a choice school and don't have access to the Wise Dash portal, this is a great spot to come and take a look at kind of the overall attendance percentage for the state. So kind of helps you gauge how you're doing versus the rest of the state. So review attendance in WISE data exports. So if you are uh, a choice school, maybe you don't have access to all the same information. So year-end attendance, attendance for primary enrollments here, you're going to click the download button and you'll be able to see the possible and actual days of attendance, which will be in columns O and P. We did add the definitions button. This was something that was added based on user feedback. So I like to tell everybody when when we show off the definitions button that we really do appreciate your feedback. The goal is to make data reporting as easy as possible for you, because we know that folks at the district are doing a lot of other duties and have lots of other responsibilities than just data reporting. So the more time that we can save you in your data reporting, gives you more time for those school and district activities and such. All right, so data element possible days of attendance. So that is going to be the total number of days that could occur for a specific student in the school term. It is reported to a half day. If students can be present for one half day or less, then the possible days of attendance should reflect that. And we'll talk about the breakdown here. So the actual number of days a student attended school during a school term. This is going to be the actual days. So how to report full, half, and absent days. So example, if you're on a block schedule and a student misses one class out of the four, they would still be a full day because they will have been there 75% of the day. Now, unfortunately, in this scenario, if they miss three classes, but are still there for one of the classes, that puts them at 25%, so they would be absent for the day. So although the attendance policies are local level decisions, DPI does have a few pieces of guidance on how to report actual and possible and the percentages that go with those. All right, so some important attendance factors we're going to go over. So this is kind of a list of what we're going to take a look at. So this we kind of just touched on. This is the attendance reporting intervals. Again, this is the percentages on figuring out if they're absent, half day, or whole day. So very young students may receive limited services such as speech and language. So possible days of attendance should be counted as a half day. And if the students are present for that time period, then the actual days should be counted as a half day. So examples for this, maybe you have a student coming in, some of the younger students, maybe they come in, 2 days a week, or, for an hour for some of those educational services. Maybe they come in 3 days a week. This is how you would account for them. Now, if you run into this scenario and you have questions, feel free to submit a help ticket. We're more than happy to help you out with that. So excused absences. So unlike the employment world, where we have excused absences and unexcused absences, you may be reporting or collecting that information at the district level for unexcused or excused, but unlike those scenarios at the local level or example at an employer, the state of Wisconsin, we only count actual days of attendance as the student being there or not being there. So there is no excused or unexcused. We just look at it as if the student was present or if the student was not. So little bit different there. As you're kind of collecting data for your students and you're putting that information in your student information system, there's a lot of information that you collect that doesn't make its way to WISE data and to the state. So this is a good example of something that you may calculate and look at the district or school level, but that doesn't make it all the way to the state. So for us, we just look at were they there or were they not? So students in quarantine are unable to attend in person due to illness. So districts may code student attendees as present if the student is quarantined due to possible exposure and is completing work while in quarantine, even if enrolled in in-person learning environment. Districts may code student attendance as present if the student is ill and unable to attend in-person instruction and is completing work. This is a district level policy. So we're telling you it's okay, you can do this, but as far as the details, as far as what you consider as present and them completing work is a district level decision and is something that you would figure out at the district level. We are more than happy to answer questions and help you work through this if you submit a ticket, but no, this is a district level policy. So local policy determines what and how much counts as completing work. If local policy dictates that a student in quarantine are submitted as absent, this absence will not count as or contribute to truancy. It will, however, negatively affect the overall attendance and absenteeism rate at the district. So again, this comes back to that local control. DPI can give you some overall guidance, kind of like this, but at the end of the day, the policy itself will be determined at the district level. So if a district, as an example, and just coming back to the quarantine part of it, the way that we talk about quarantine, I think quarantine, everyone thinks of COVID. We know that information around COVID and how that's perceived and the quarantines around that it seems to be changing a lot. So it's always possible this could change. It's possible it could change at your local level. So just keep an eye on that. All right, so if a district does not have enough bus drivers, as an example, and isn't able to transport the students, if that student learns from home and is completing work, they should be considered as present if they meet the criteria listed for students in quarantine. So again, that's going to be something that you come up with at the district level. However, you do have the ability to count them as present if they meet that criteria. So students taking classes through virtual should follow district attendance policy. In most cases, for students attending virtual, such as an RVA, attendance is still reported by the resident district. Under typical circumstances, homework sent to a temporarily absent student, such as during a family vacation, is not counted as actual attendance. So however, in light of the COVID-19, if a school provides homework and learning materials to a student in quarantine or unable to attend in person due to illness, the district could count this as actual attendance time if they meet the criteria listed for the students in quarantine. So again, we know this is constantly changing. So if you have questions on this, feel free to put in a help ticket and reach out. Field trips. Time spent on district-approved field trips is counted as actual attendance. Services off school grounds. So like district supervised educational services off school grounds is counted as actual attendance. So example would be like services received at a library, hospital, county correctional facility, college, and then some of those home services like through quarantine that we talked about. All right, study hall, recess versus after school activities. So academic or athletic clubs outside the regular school day are not counted as actual attendance. Time during the regular school day for study hall, recess, uh, when a student is expected to be present is counted as actual attendance. So summer school is not reported to DPI in WISE data. The only time that you would be reporting school that happens during the summer is if it is a year-round school. So if you have year-round schooling, we would expect information to be submitted for those classes and students as they are, it's just part of the regular year. It just happens to be in the summer because it's year round. But if you have summer classes as part of summer school outside of the regular year, that is not reported to DPI in WISE data. That is again something that you're going to report. You're going to report to yourselves, and you're going to put it in your student information system, and you're going to keep that information for yourselves. That's just not something that comes to WISE data. So a student who has run away from home and not attending school and has an unknown location should have their enrollment managed according to school board policy. So again, this is something that you as a school or district should have a policy in place for. If the local policy does not withdraw the student from school, the days that the student was missing must be reported to WISE data as included in the possible days of attendance count and excluded from actual attendance count. So a couple scenarios here is maybe you could unenroll the student in WISE data as a dropout, or you could keep them enrolled and you would count those as possible days, but they would count as they would not be there for actual days. So meaning if the student attended for 75 days and now they've run away, and you keep them enrolled. It's now been 100 days, but they haven't been in school for 25 days. The possible days of attendance would now be 100, but the actual days of attendance would still be 75. So depending on your school policy, maybe you are unenrolling the student in WISE data as an ODO or dropout. Maybe you don't do that for X amount of days, or maybe you keep them enrolled and are not counting them as present. So different scenarios. And again, that is determined at the local level. The discipline-related scenarios, we're going to talk about these here next. So in-school suspensions are only reported in WISE data for SPED students. So SPED meaning special education. Out of school suspension. So if a student subject to out of school suspension receives district supervised educational services, submit possible days of attendance as time when services are offered or scheduled, whether the student is present, receive these services or not. However, suspended days do not count towards the student's actual days of attendance and should be marked as absent. So again, here's kind of an example down here below. If there's, if they're supposed to be there for 180 days, but they've been suspended for 2, their actual days would drop by 2. So in this scenario, we go from 180 possible to 178 as actual. Now, again, that in this scenario, it's not factoring in if the student missed any days due to illness or skipping. So more just an illustration of the 2 days they were suspended coming out of the total. Temporary expulsions. This is a very, very, very rare scenario. So here's some information on it. I'm not really going to go into this. If you find yourself in a situation where you have a temporary expulsion, feel free to put in a help ticket if you should have questions on that. Again, this is a very rare scenario. Permanent expulsions for students who are expelled students who continued enrollment status but who are not receiving educational services submit 0 for actual and possible days of attendance because they're expelled. Permanently expelled students with services have exit dates, so no attendance data is collected. So if you have questions around permanent expulsions, how to report, how to record, or when you're supposed to continue offering services, example, SPED students, feel free to reach out. There's also some great information on the uncommon scenarios page on our DPI website, which will talk about expulsions and SPED students or in those different scenarios. So PK and K4, if you have PK and K4 students and they are reported in WISE, then you must report attendance. These students should be reported in WISE, so you should be reporting attendance for them. Again, PK, if you have PK students, these are younger students that have special ed services. They are supposed to be reported in WISE, which means they are supposed to have attendance reported in WISE. If you have further questions on this, any clarification, please reach out via help ticket. We are more than happy to walk through some scenarios with you. It's kind of come to our attention recently that not all schools or districts were reporting PK and K4 the same way. So we want to get everyone on the same page here in that these students should be reported in WISE data and they should have attendance reported. So if you have questions, please submit a help ticket and reach out. Okay, enrollment types. Primary enrollment, you report the attendance. Coursework enrollment, do not report the attendance. It sounds easy enough, but this does get mixed up. This does cause overlapping enrollments and some issues if an example, if you're supposed to be reporting a coursework enrollment, but you're reporting them as primary or you're reporting attendance, creates some issues. So to keep it easy, primary enrollment, report the attendance. Coursework enrollment, don't report the attendance. All right, so some common validation errors we're going to take a look at here. All right, so we did do a live demo during the actually no, we didn't during the session. We actually just went through the slides. We didn't have a time to get to the live demo, so we'll just take a look here at some of these. So warning 6471, actual or possible days of attendance exceeds 200 days across multiple schools of enrollment. So a lot of these warnings and errors that you have with attendance are going to be very straightforward. So the good news is they're not as complicated or hard to fix as some of those other errors and warnings. So in this situation, there are too many days reported. Most likely, you have summer school reporting. Maybe the student was taking some classes in the summer, and those days got reported. Overlapping enrollments could drive up the days of attendance as well. This warning often displays true for the PPP students, so that's public schools should send a value of 0 for attendance for choice PPP students. So if that's the scenario, make sure that gets work with the public school. If you're the choice school, again, those should be 0. So pretty straightforward here on 6471, just too many days being reported. And again, some of the common situations that will cause that. Okay, so warning 6473, actual or possible days of attendance exceed 366 days. So this one's just not, it's just not possible to exceed 366 days, even this year with a leap year, because it would put you at 366. But even if you have year-round schooling, students aren't coming in on weekends and holidays. So most likely, this is due to an overlapping enrollment. So it may be you had a student that originally enrolled in another school or district, and they decided not to go to that school or district. Maybe they ended up going to yours instead. Who knows what the reason was? But most likely is it's due to a no-show or an overlapping enrollment where the students enrolled in another school or district. So take a look at the students' details in WISE data. Look at what other school they might be enrolled in. When you have an overlapping enrollment, it's going to show both of the schools. So in that situation, reach out to the other school or district and work with them on getting that resolved. In the event that you have reached out multiple times, let's say you've reached out to the other district 3 times. We like to say, reach out to the other district 3 times, and if you're not able to resolve it, then reach out to us. It could be something as simple as maybe the other district has the wrong person listed in their contacts. So as you're reaching out, you're not able to get a hold of anyone. So reach out to us, put in a help ticket, just say, hey, we've reached out to District X on this overlapping enrollment, and we haven't heard anything back. We will do the best we can. We'll reach out to that other district as well. Sometimes we have access to more information on who to contact, so we might be able to reach someone. And this is also kind of a good plug to make sure that you update your contacts correctly every year in the WISE data portal. Ideally, the primary contact is the person that's actively working in there, so that in situations where there's an overlapping enrollment in warnings like this, you are able to find and contact the correct person. So actual and possible days of attendance are missing. This one's pretty straightforward. A lot of times when this is happening, it could be that the student is a no-show and didn't show up. So in that scenario, you wouldn't have any actual or possible days of attendance. It's also possible that the information's just not flowing from your student information system. A lot of the student information systems have that ability to stop data from flowing. Again, you as a school and district collect and keep a lot more information than gets sent to the WISE data portal. So your student informations have options to stop data from flowing to WISE data in those scenarios. And this could be a scenario where that information has been, let's say it's a drop-down box or a checkbox to not flow. So that's one of the possible situations or scenarios here that could also be stopping that data from flowing. Error 6476, invalid actual days of attendance. So actual days of attendance must equal to or less than possible days. So if you're saying the student could only have been in your district for 75 days, but you're reporting they've been there for 80, that's where this error is going to throw. So a lot of times those are just flipped. Maybe when you're entering the data in, you put in the numbers just backwards. So this is the error to let you know that, hey, this doesn't look correct. Take a look at it inside your student information system. Something is not being reported correctly. And again, a lot of times it's just a typo. Either you flip the numbers or just typed them in wrong. So this one's also, again, very easy to fix. Warning 6474, actual or possible attendance for the school are 0. So this happens for schools that are not being used. So maybe you have maybe you're building a new building and maybe there's a school that's not being used this year because everyone's transitioning over to another one. Maybe you have a charter school that's not in use at this time. For whatever reason, if you have attendance where a school is reporting no attendance, we'll flag it so that you can take a look. And a lot of times in this situation, it's just going to be, again, a school that's not in use, so you can just acknowledge the warning. However, there are situations where maybe that information is just not flowing. So the previous error where the student didn't have any attendance, it could be kind of similar in that situation where the data's you've told your student information system not to send the data. So that could be the scenario here where none of the information for the attendance is being sent for that school. So a couple different things to look at there. The good news is that in situations where where it's marked to not send that data, so you're missing a lot of data like this where none of the attendance is flowing through, a lot of those times it's a pretty easy fix, even though there's a lot of data missing. A lot of times it's just something as simple as changing something in your sys to allow that data to flow, or again, maybe it's just not a school in use this year. All right, so warning 7107, 100% attendance is submitted for every student in a school. So there are situations where this could be correct. This could be a virtual school. So it could be 100% attendance. So in that situation, you can just acknowledge the warning. And if it's not a virtual school, that's something then that you would want to dig into. Why are all the students reporting 100% attendance? Could be an error. It could be for some reason, maybe the information that got entered, actual and possible days, maybe you entered everything the same. So maybe, again, using that 75-day example, again, maybe at this point in time, there's only been 75 days of school. And for some reason, entering that data, you have 75 as both possible and actual, which would then generate the warning because it would be 100% attendance. So again, it's pretty easy to fix and pretty straightforward. So here are some just additional helpful resources. Attendance data elements page, very, very helpful there. Let's see if it will bring up here. Okay, yep. So attendance wise data attendance. So you have the actual and the possible, some great breakdowns of that and a lot of good information here. So if you're newer and haven't spent a lot of time on the data elements page, I highly recommend saving this page. Uncommon wise data situations. We kind of touched on this a little bit before. This is great. There's a lot of good information here as you're kind of working through errors and warnings in different situations on how to report data. So You can always check here, but again, always feel free to put in a help ticket, and that's the blue button there. You can also click index of pages here, and this will have a little bit more of a breakdown under each one of these um, different scenarios. So a lot of good information there. Some more helpful links here on knowledge-based articles. So I am going to just bring up our UAT site. Oh, it's down for maintenance, so I can't do that. That's right. That's why we did the we did the slides here instead of the demo. But the knowledge-based articles, as you're working through. Okay, so it's not working right now either. As you are working through your errors in the warnings, you'll see that little, the 4-digit code, and it's a blue hyperlink that takes you to the knowledge-based articles. These are very good at helping you work through the different situations and scenarios. So if you're newer or if you're just stuck on a particular error and warning, always check these out, and then also check out those uncommon situations. But again, always feel free to put in a help ticket, and you can do that. It's that little blue box here on the left. This is going to be on a lot of our different websites. While you are in the WISE Data portal, you can click the help button. That's going to be up towards the top, and that will take you to the DPI website, and it will have a link for that, the help ticket as well. WISE Data events calendar. This is definitely one of the top links you should save. Maybe you found the information for the upcoming conference on this, or maybe you got it another way, but this is going to have a lot of good information as far as when the different conferences are happening. Might be a DPI sponsored conference, might be something that a particular department is offering some additional training on. Here you can see on Tuesday, we have our different user groups. So the WISE user group, just a quick plug for that. This is going to be during the back to school. So starting in like August, September, or starting in September, we go to a weekly user group call. So every Tuesday at 1:30, we'll have this Q&A session. We're going to have great information on just announcements, updates. You'll hear from subject matter experts from different departments. Sometimes we have guest speakers, and that's going to be weekly from September through the snapshot in December, and then we take a little bit of a break for the holidays, and then we start up on every other week in January. So that's what we're on now. So we have it every 2 weeks, and that will continue every 2 weeks through the end of the school year, or through May, and then June, July, and August, we do it just monthly. These are, again, very, very helpful calls, as you can get a lot of good updates, a lot of good information, but you can also see what other districts and schools are asking. We have the agenda here, so you can click the agenda. You can see the different questions that have been asked. This is a rolling agenda, so it's updated every time we have one of the meetings. And you can scroll back and see past questions. So again, if you hit Control F, if you have a particular error or warning, and you want to see if it's been talked about in the group chat, just hit Control F and type in that number, or you can also search by keywords as well. You can also ask questions in the document. So let's say we don't have one this week, but we're going to have one in 2 weeks, and you're going to be on vacation, but you want to ask your question. Obviously, you can put in a help ticket, but if it's more of a general question, you're not in a hurry, you can put it in there, and we will answer it. And then when you come back from vacation, it'll be in the document answered. So it's a great way to kind of connect with some of the districts and see what those other districts and schools are asking for questions. So Again, we have a lot of DPI resources on that call. We've got the entire customer services team, and then we have the subject matter experts from other teams. So a lot of great knowledge on that call. Giving feedback. Um, Again, we love to hear your ideas, your feedback. The idea with Wise Data and our websites is to make everything as easy as possible so that you can spend more time on other things in your school and district other than the Wise Data reporting. All right, so that's the end. That's everything we have here today. So again, this presentation doesn't have as much information as the session itself. If you were in it, we had a lot of good questions that were asked. So based on those questions, we did have some additional answers and some different scenarios that we worked through. So if you were in that session, I do apologize that it didn't record properly. And unfortunately, we don't have that one for you. So if you do have questions on this presentation, different attendance scenarios, feel free to reach out. Just go ahead and put in a help ticket, and you can reference this. And or if there's additional training material you're looking for, feel free as well to submit a help ticket requesting additional information. So thank you very much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day.